Tonight's episode of Legacy Battle is brought to you by Atlas Benefits.
Atlas Benefits has solutions for your insurance needs. Atlas Benefits can help you obtain Medicare, health, or life insurance and employee benefits. You can find them on the web at www.atlasbenefits.com.
Or you can contact Rob Ducey or Roy Smith at 727-600-2892 and mention Legacy Battle Podcast. Atlas Benefits has all the solutions for your insurance needs. Enjoy the show. This is Legacy Battle. Make sure you hit subscribe on whatever you're listening on YouTube, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Safari, Google Podcasts, Spotify. If I'm forgetting any, just hit subscribe on whatever you're listening on. Also join that Facebook group. I am Michael Adams here, creator of Legacy Battle. Joining me tonight, we got from Steelers Nation South, Rollo Coughlin, from the Gridiron Battle Zone, Dion Reed. And we got a first-time panelist tonight. He's a huge baseball knowledgeable person. He's Bowling Green alum, David Martine. And our special guest tonight, he's a former MLB catcher, also played in the outfield a little bit, 8 seasons with the Brewers. And we're going to be debating the Brewers tonight, so we know this is perfect. He hit .331 in 1996 and .309 in 99. That is some impressive batting stats there. He also put up a .944 fielding percentage in 94. He's played internationally, including in the 2000 Olympics, where check this out. Batting average of .565 in that tournament. And slugging was .957. So just incredible numbers internationally. And you're still involved in baseball today, is that correct?
Yeah, still managing in the Australian Baseball League and also manager of the Australian national team.
Right, exactly. So we got former MLB All Star catcher David Nilsson. David, thank you for being here.
No, my pleasure. Nice to be here, guys.
Awesome. This is going to be a good time. We got a lot of people to discuss tonight, so we're going to jump right into this. It's going to be the top 5 Milwaukee Brewers offensive players of all time, and we're going to start out. We're going to go with the only player really who might have a little controversy tonight. We don't usually bring up the dirt, so we'll steer clear of that a little bit here. But Ryan Braun.
Ryan Braun, first-round pick out of Miami. He came onto the scene and with one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen, 34 homers, 97 RBIs, Rookie of the Year in 2007. So he came in hot. And those first 5-6 years afterwards, before he got injured, he was one of the best hitters in baseball. He averaged 33 homers, 107 RBIs, a .314 batting average, and he averaged 21 stolen bases. That was an underrated part of his game. He was known as a slugger. He was a 5-time Silver Slugger, but he also was known for stealing bases. He was a part of the 30-30 club twice, before he got injured. And, in his 14 years, he was, his first 8-9 years, he's one of the best hitters in baseball. He won MVP in 2011, was a 6-time All Star. Despite the controversy, he was one of the best hitters in baseball. Ryan Braun, my pick, one of my picks.
One of your picks, that's right. We all got 2 tonight. So what we're just going to say about that is about the controversy for Ryan Braun. For those of you who don't know, he did have one positive test for possible steroid usage. So that's controversy. We'll just leave it at that. David, my question for you is one stat that wasn't mentioned there is that Ryan Braun also is the all-time strikeout leader for the Brewers. Is that just part of today's game, striking out more often, or is it worth it because of all the home runs he hits?
Yeah, I think it's just part of today's game. I don't think it really takes away from anything he's achieved. The name of the game is being productive, and I don't think anyone can deny how productive he's been over a long period of time.
Yeah, fabulous. And he also switched positions, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think he came up as a third baseman initially, and then put him on the corners. And I'm not sure what was behind that. Probably just suited the team better, and also protect his body. But he's done a great job in the outfield.
Well, like Chipper Jones. Chipper was at third, and then in his later years, they moved him to the outfield, just helped them get a little more out of their career, because playing in that infield, that is a lot of rough diving and hard on the knees and everything. So let's move on to our next player tonight, and we're going to go Robin Yount.
Yes, the kid. The kid is coming out of Danville, Illinois. He made his Major League debut April 5th, 1974 at just 19 years old. I just can't imagine going there, being a part of the show. You can't even buy a drink legally afterwards. But spent his whole 20-year career with the Brewers. Career averaged 285 with 3,142 hits, 251 home runs, just above 1,400 RBIs. He's 19th on the career list of major league hits. He's one of the 32 players to have 3,000 hits. But since we're talking about where they place in the Brewers' history, he's second in home runs with 251, first in RBIs, first in runs, first in hits, first in doubles, first in triples. He's a 3-time All Star, 2-time AL MVP. For those who are a little confused, yes, the Brewers were in the AL at one point. A 3-time Silver Slugger. Even though we're talking offensive, he was also able to be all-around shortstop and earning a Golden Glove as well. His numbers retired. He made the Wall of Fame for the Brewers and also was a first ballot Hall of Fame.
David, outside of Milwaukee, I feel Robin Yount is the most known player in Brewers history. Now, inside Milwaukee, I know there's a few more that might be in there. Cecil Cooper, who we'll talk about a little bit later, definitely one of the more popular players. But, I mean, is this list kind of like Robin Yount and everybody else, in your opinion?
Absolutely. I cannot imagine anybody superseding what Robin's done. He basically built the organization. He's such a humble player, and most players get to the big leagues trying to reach standards, trying to fit in. Robin was one of those players who set the standards. He was just so good at everything he did, a good teammate, and I just can't imagine him not being the guy. He is by far the best player ever to play for the Brewers. One thing that wasn't mentioned, he got 2 MVPs. One was at shortstop and one was at center field. I mean, how do you do that? How do you do that? He batted in the 3, 4, 5 position. He stole bases. He was a quiet leader, but Robin's the guy. Come on.
Rollo, let me ask you a quick question about Robin. He played his entire career on one team. We don't see that anymore. I mean, how special is that?
That's very special. Just to being able to go out there day in, day out for teams that are not winning. Sometimes not winning.
Yeah. And
just being able to go out there every day. I mean, the amount of games he played for that organization is incredible, because he I think 2 seasons he played all 162 games, and that's incredible. To play that many games in a season for a baseball season, because baseball is a very long season. It's like 5-6 months in addition to spring training. So in order to play that many games for that long for one organization is actually an incredible feat.
Well, we mentioned Cecil Cooper, so let's move on to him tonight. I'm representing him. So he got 11 seasons with the Brewers, and he made 5 All-Star games during that time, won 3 Silver Sluggers. I know we're not talking fielding, but 2 Gold Gloves. So you got to throw that in there, because that's just a special stat there. And he was top 10 in MVP voting 4 times. He led MLB in RBIs 2 times and doubles 2 times. He's 3rd all-time in Brewers batting average at .302, 5th in games played, 4th in runs scored and hits and doubles, and 6th in triples and homers, and 3rd in RBIs. So the only thing I got to prove tonight is that he's top 5. So to get him on the list tonight, all those stats are pretty much top 5. Just a little more information. 1983, he wins the Roberto Clemente Award, which, that award is given to the person who exemplifies the game of baseball. That is just a wonderful award to receive. And for Rollo and myself growing up in Pittsburgh, we know how special Clemente was. But, when he played, fans used to chant, "We want Coop," or Coop, late in his career when he was benched, which didn't go very well over with the fans at that time. But he became a mentor for young players like Glenn Braggs, and many, many others. And the Brewers, this was kind of a sticky situation at the end of his career. They wouldn't release him due to $1.5 million that would be owed to him if he was going to be released at a certain time period. So he ended up retiring. He spent the final 76 games of his career on the bench, which it's just a shame because of all that he meant to this franchise. But, after playing as Brewers minor league director of player development, moved up to bench coach, then AAA manager. He's on the Brewers Wall of Honor. And, just in my opinion, he was the heart and soul of Milwaukee. I mean, you go read some articles about this guy. They just absolutely loved him. David, I'm guessing maybe you might have came up, through the minor league system and worked with him at some point.
Yeah, Coop was around all the time. He was always at the stadium, and so I saw him quite regularly. And a great guy. Obviously, he has to be in the top 5. Come on, you got the base hit to put him into the World Series. I mean, there's a lot of other guys that make a pretty good push to be in that top 5, but I don't think he's the only one that can say he got the base hit to put the Brewers in their only World Series. That has to carry a little bit of weight.
I like that stat. That's a good one. All right, let's move on to, I see the jersey in the background. Let's go to Prince Fielder.
All right, Mr. Fielder. So, information for Mr. Fielder being the top 5. What I need you guys to focus, or I'd like you to focus on, is what he did do while he was there. Fielder obviously didn't have the 20-year career with the same team and so forth. He was a victim of baseball's haves and have-nots. After only 7 years being with the Brewers, they chose to sign steroid Vaughn over Prince long-term, and Detroit snatched him up after just 7 seasons. Drafted as a first-rounder, 7th overall pick. With only 7 years there, he's right behind Robin Yount in home runs with 230. He was the youngest player ever home runs in a season. Second all time on base percentage, only behind Kristen Yelich as a Brewer. Talking about the Moneyball aspect. Do we care how he got on base? No, we don't. The man walked 100 times 3 seasons while there, 84 times 1 season, and 90 times 1 season. So being that with that, second all time and on base. So excluding, we think of the 6 foot, 280 pound vegan that just hits monster bombs. The guy got on base also. So thinking of slugging percentage also in just a short period of time he is there, he's also second all time in slugging for the Brewers organization. So focusing on just the 7 years that he was, the short period of time that he was a Brewer before moving on to free agency, because, again, haves and have-nots, the big markets, small markets, and so forth. It is a phenomenal career here, beginning at the age of 21. Top in the MVP voting on 4 occasions, home run derby champ. I mean, just a phenomenal career there all around. But the biggest stat I want to pull out, again, focusing on the Moneyball stuff again, is, the slugging percentage. Babe Ruth has the all-time .689 slugging percentage. It's the all-time highest for a career. On 2 occasions, while a Milwaukee Brewer, he had a .600 or higher as a Brewer. So again, what could have been if you mark this out over a full-time career, and as we know, he had a short time with Detroit, was traded away to Texas, and then had the neck injuries and so forth. So while focusing on just seven seasons, short time with the Milwaukee Brewers, what could have been is had they signed him over Ryan Braun.
David, pure power hitter. His father was a pure power hitter. We all know Cecil Fielder. I mean, if he sticks around in Milwaukee longer, he's probably their all-time home run leader. What are your thoughts on Prince Fielder?
Yeah, I mean, he had 7 years there, and 6 of those years he was a predominant power guy, not just in the Brewers lineup, but also I think he led the league in home runs one year and led the league in RBIs. He was a all-star home run king. I don't think the Brewers have had a power bat like that. You could count them on one hand, if not one or two fingers. So, I think he's in my top 5 for, I know he's only there a short period of time, but the influence we had on the organization and the numbers that he put up are pretty significant.
And it's a shame his career was cut short with those injuries. Who knows what could have been, but
Yeah,
let's move on to Paul Molitor.
The Igniter, one of the best hitters and base stealers of the 80s and 90s. He was, he was drafted in '74 by the Cardinals in the 28th round. Decided to go to college where he could improve his draft status. And he wanted to be going in the first round to the Brewers. Made his debut at shortstop, and then moved to second base when Robin Yount returned from injuries. But he's got a lot of exclusives. He is one of 5 players all time to average 300 lifetime, 3,000 hits, 500 stolen bases. And after 1930, there's only 2 players that ever have that distinction. That's Ichiro and the Igniter. He's second all time in WAR. He's second all time in batting average, second all time in games played, second all time in at bats, plate appearance, runs scored, hits, triples. He's 4th in RBIs, 1st in stolen bases, 5th in on base percentage, 10th in home runs, and 3rd in doubles. He did all this missing 550 games in his career. Imagine the numbers he'd have put up had he not missed that many games. He was a 2-time Silver Slugger. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Excuse me. I mean, the guy missed 3.5 seasons due to injury. Imagine some of the numbers he would have put up had he stayed healthy and played more games. He also had a 39-game hitting streak in 1987. So one of the best hitters of the generation, and he definitely belongs, in my opinion, on the top 5.
I remember that streak. People were starting to talk Joe DiMaggio when that was going on. That was getting up there. Dave, obviously, I want your thoughts on Paul Molitor, but I do have a question about him too. This was the heartbreaker, watching a legend like him have to basically leave Milwaukee. It's always hard to watch a generational player leave. I mean, what are your thoughts like when that occurred, and what do you think of him as a player? We know he got a World Series later on with Toronto.
Well, my rookie year in the big leagues was 1992, and we won 92 games that year, and we got eliminated the last weekend of the season. There wasn't a wild card back then, so really disappointing. But in the next year in that offseason, he signed with Toronto for a young player who, Paulie was the heartbeat of the team. He had Paul and you had Robin, and that was who we were. And then you just had all the other pieces around the 2 of them, and they were the leaders. And then in the offseason for just out of nowhere for him to sign a deal to go to Toronto, which, there wasn't internet or social media back then. So, the lead up and the information around it was really minimal, but it was really just confusing to me as a young guy who thought we were on the cusp of getting to the playoffs. And, we were right there to have, our main guy go to our main competitor. That was really just difficult to understand. I mean, Paulie was so well respected within the group, and again, I was just a young guy, but just respected him so much that never questioned it. It was just confusing, and next year was just a struggle for us, and to compound that struggle, he went on to win a World Series with Toronto. So You know, as far as the Brewers go, you have Paulie, you have Robin. They're the two. I think Robin sits on top. He stayed around. I think if Paulie would have stayed around the next 6 or 7 years, it would have been a good discussion as to who the guy is. But Robin is the guy for that reason. And I think Paulie is in my eyes, he's the second one behind Robin.
Let's move on to Jeff Jenkins.
Mr. Jenkins, West Coast product outfielder out of Olympia, Washington. He was highly recruited when trying to enter into the Major League draft. Spent 4 years in the minor leagues being groomed. When he came out, he went on to have an 11-year career, 10 of which with the Brewers. In that time span, he was able to rank 4th in home runs with 212, 5th in RBIs with 704, 7th in runs was 661, 6th in hits with 1,221. He was 5th in doubles with 287, 4th in slugging percentage in 496 with the Brewers. His last year with Phillies, made his career slugger dip a little bit, but he played an important role in contributing to their championship that year. But with the Brewers, he did go on to have an All Star season. He made the Wall of Fame. What I've found out or read about Mr. Jenkins, he was one of those bats where if he had joined the Brewers maybe like a couple of decades before, able to play like a DH, I think he would have been more effective. He's one of those guys that as starting pitchers started to creep up into their pitching counts and started to get a little lazy with the ball, he will make you pay. That's what I have on Mr. Jenkins.
So I'm looking at his stats right now, and this guy was slugging home runs like crazy. How he only made one All-Star game? That's pretty nuts. 30 homers 1 year, or 28, 34, 27. Great hitter. How did this guy go so far under the radar, David? I mean, like outside of Milwaukee, I mean, he's not a guy that's getting mentioned a lot.
Yeah, look, I think the reality of it is there was a period there in Milwaukee where there wasn't much attention to what was happening, and the team wasn't having too much success. So a lot of players were going unnoticed, and Jeff's a perfect example of that. He come up in '98, was his first year. I think he played full-time. '99 was when he started to be productive. And my last few years there, and you could see he had all the attributes. He came first round pick in '95. Real violent swing out of USC, and he just honed it down. Very smart player. So, yeah, a good player that I think anyone would be happy to have Jeff on their team.
So we're going to move on to Jeff Cirillo, another Jeff. So 6 seasons with the Brewers, and then came back late in his career for 2 seasons. He's the Brewers' all-time batting average leader. Boys, when you vote tonight, who's number 1 in batting average? Jeff Cirillo. 307, not too bad. 6th in WAR, 3rd on base percentage, 7th in doubles, and a 2-time All-Star with Milwaukee. Now, this guy, he would do anything for the team on the field. I'm not sure what he's like off the field. Maybe David will be able to tell us a little bit about that in a minute. But he'd get hit by a pitch. He'd sacrifice hits, sack flies. This was your guy. Anything to get runners on or advance them. He could straight outfield too. Led third basemen in putouts 2 times, assists 3 times, double plays 4 times, 6 times top 10 fielding percentage. So really great fielder. He's in the Brewers Wall of Fame, of course. And I'll throw this out here about him. In today's baseball, he probably wouldn't be highly sought after because of how they think of those type of players nowadays. But this guy was perfect for his time because, like I said, he would do anything to get on base. He's definitely was like an analytics-driven player, 9.2% walk rate. Positionally versatility, he could play all over the field. Wins above replacement before people even knew what that was 5.125. That is pretty good. And he's also an Ironman. He played in 154 games. You know, a lot of times, like, he was playing like the full amount of games. So he's just a great, versatile man. This is the kind of guy you want on your team if you're trying to win. It's not always just about homers. So, Dave, the batting average is so undervalued in today's game. I mean, just like, in your opinion, I don't want to say what's more important, but do you want guys up there that are going to jack 40 home runs, or do you want like a bunch of 300 hitters, in your opinion?
Well, I think you want guys that are productive, and you want guys that make the team productive. So Jeff was a productive player, and he hit for average, but I think you summarized him really well. He played a lot of positions. He probably, again, like Jeff Jenkins, wasn't well recognized because at that time with the Brewers, we didn't have too much success. And but man, what a fantastic player he was! What a fantastic hitter he was! And yeah, really, I think he was never undervalued within the organization. But yeah, he just loved playing the game of baseball. He loved the game, and as you said, would do anything for the team to win. It's disappointing he didn't get to spend more time in Milwaukee, but you know, that may affect his top 5 status in my eyes. But yeah, great player. I think you summarized him really well.
It was nice to see him come back later on too for those like last 2 seasons. So that
yeah, I'm
was
glad he got to finish it. Yeah.
Let's move on to our final player tonight. That's going to be Greg Vaughn.
So with Greg Vaughn, another first-round pick, 4th overall for the Milwaukee Brewers. A lot of similarities here with Prince Fielder again, limited to just 8 seasons with the Brewers. It appears, you know, based on the trade deadline in 1996, he was dealt off to which he may be a little more known for, being in San Diego, where he went on to play in the World Series and so forth, before joining if you guys remember the hit show in 2000 with the Rays, along that big signing class of Fred McGriff, Jose Canseco, and Vinny Castillo, aka career killer move. But a little bit of focus on his stats. You know, this guy was just warming up, and you know, had we seen an extensive career in Milwaukee, you know, in not joining on with Tampa Bay, who knows? You know, here's a guy who finished as a 4-time All Star, a Silver Slugger, finished with 355 career home runs. You know, he had 100 RBIs one time. He was in the 90s twice. You know, the year he got traded, he was at 31 home runs with Milwaukee. So, you know, obviously the contract was up, trade deadline, and, you know, being, you know, as I talked about before, you know, a game of, you know, big markets, small markets. So you know, it appears that's you know, as they moved him on, because they weren't competing that year. But again, it's a matter of, you know, what could have been, you know, what could have been with an extensive, you know, or a long-term contract with the home team that drafted you. But the moment he moved on to San Diego, that was it. Even moving on into San Diego, he had a 50 home run season and a 45 home run season. So, you know, some impressive stats with Milwaukee, but again, you know, 8 years, you know, it's not going to give you those Count Molitor type numbers. You have to focus on the small, you know, what could have been, or those 8 years that he was there.
So I'm looking at the trade from Milwaukee to San Diego.
Oh,
it really
Bryce Fiore, I think, and yeah.
Ron Vaughn was a serviceable pitcher, but I think Milwaukee kind of got the short end on that trade there. But so Dave, this is a very unique stat here. Check this out. Greg Vaughn was drafted 4 times.
Yes.
That's got to be a record. So Cardinals, Brewers, Pirates, Angels, and Brewers again. I'm sorry, 5 times he was drafted.
You know, the draft's a little odd in baseball. I mean, you know, it's you know, you get your shot at them out of high school, and then again out in college after a certain amount, and different rules for community colleges and so forth. So.
Right. So Dave, what are your thoughts on Greg Vaughn? And interesting that he's drafted 5 times.
Yeah, well, first of all, great teammate. Everyone loved playing with Greg. Legitimate, heart of the lineup guy. Legitimate gamer, loved to play. And, you know, the difficult thing about that 96 season is we actually had a really good team. And it got to a point to where the Brewers had to make a decision financially, you know, and financially in a bad way. And once they traded Greg, they had to trade other people. I think Kevin Seitz was in there, and the whole team just faded away a little bit. So I want to make the point is that year, early that year, we were at one stage the top hitting team in the American League. We're up against the Indians. I'm not sure if we had the pitching to compete with them, but very comfortable to say that if we were a team that was willing to buy at the trade deadline, we would have had a chance to do something that year. Unfortunately, we were a team that sold at the deadline, and Greg was the main guy. You know, he was the main guy. They shipped him off to San Diego. He went on to have an incredible career. I think his time in Milwaukee, he was just beginning, just really learning. You know, even though he's an incredible impact on the game, he was just starting to take off, and I think he had his better years in San Diego and Cincinnati and other places. So heartbroken to see him leave in that 96 season.
All right, let's move into our vote tonight. Peon, you got first pick. Who are you taking for our top 5?
Yeah, well, you know, again, I have a bias. I'm a young guy, so we doing you can't vote for your same guy.
Yeah, you can't ever vote for your own.
All right, so obviously I can't vote for the kid, but yeah, like I said, I'm a young guy. I was a huge Prince Fielder fan. I think it was well said. You know what could have happened if he had stayed with the Brewers, but even with his time with the Brewers, like he was one of those guys that would take an off speed pitch and make it go yard. You know what I mean? So he's someone who will make you pay if you throw it inside, outside. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to go Prince.
Rollo?
So I get to pick of the litter. Since I can't vote for my boys, I'm gonna have to go with Greg Vaughn.
Wow. Okay. David Martin?
Well, since I have 2 Hall of Famers to pick from, I'm actually gonna go rogue here. I'm gonna go for Stormin' Gorman Thomas. No, just kidding. I'm gonna go Robin Yount. That's Mr. Brewer all day. 3,000. Molitor is another toss up, but he was a Twin and Blue Jay. But the face of the Brewers is Robin Yount. I got a special bias for the Harvey Wallbangers, and that crew of the '82. But that was quite a special. Robin's.
I'll take Paul Molitor. I don't even need to say anything about it. He's that good. So, Dave, we moved you. That leaves you with Cecil Cooper, Ryan Braun, Jeff Cirillo, and Jeff Jenkins.
Who do I have to? Can you repeat the names I have to choose from again, please?
Yeah, Jeff Cirillo, Ryan
Yep.
Braun, Cecil Cooper, and Jeff Jenkins.
Well, I think I'm going to go with Cecil Cooper. 11 years, made a World Series, a leader in the clubhouse. I think the other names you mentioned, they could easily be in the top 5, but I'm going to go with Coop.
Excellent. So that makes the Milwaukee Brewers top 5 offensive players tonight: Paul Molitor, Robin Yount, Prince Fielder, Cecil Cooper, and Greg Vaughn. Nice job, boys. Let's move into our Q&A. Rollo, start us off.
Dave, you made an All-Star game appearance. You came in the 9th inning. What was that like? Was your plate? Were you more focused going up to bat, Were you nervous, or was it just any other at bat for you?
It was a once in a lifetime at bat, so to speak. The backstory of it is there was one pitcher in the league, pitched for the Yankees and Texas, who I was really comfortable against, but just had no success at all. And John Wetland. And so he was speaking to me in the outfield the day before, all the pleasantries, and as you do, I mean, I couldn't get a hit off him. He had to be nice to me. So, you know, I get on deck, and Bochy tells me to go out there. It's kind of all organized, and sure enough, I look on the other side, and Wetland was there. So I kind of had a little bit of a giggle to myself, thinking, you know, my first All Star game, you know, give me anybody, give me Pedro, I don't care who I got to face. I just don't want to face this guy. So I kind of talked myself out of it. I'm like, no, this is going to be the moment. This is going to be where I break the shackles. And I went up, had a really good at-bat, aggressive at-bat. I think I swung 6, 7, 8, 9 pitches. And yeah, he continued his dominance over me. You know, I eventually struck out. So, yeah, it was a bit of a game within a game.
Dion.
With you know, Manfred continuously trying to find ways to market baseball, feels like he's trying to target the younger fans and get people come out, you know, for the games on a regular basis. Even though I'm someone who thinks the game should just stay the same, don't touch it. You know, there's continuous rumors going on about the NL possibly adapting the DH, and we've seen, you know, the weight change of the baseball. How do you feel about the game going forward? Are you someone who just feels as if the game should just stay the same? Are there any changes that you would put in place?
Well, I consider myself to be an old school guy. I grew up in that era, and I love the history of the game, and I think it needs to be protected. At the same time, I'm managing now, and you know, this group of young adults coming through, they're different. The way they see the game and the things that attract them to the game are different. I have an 11-year-old son who loves everything about the game. He's 24 hours a day baseball, and the parts of the game that he loves and enjoys are probably not the parts of the game that I grew up on. So I think the commissioner has a very difficult decision navigating the sport forward, because the old school people are very strong about how they feel about the game and how they want the game protected. But there's a generation of people, younger kids, that see the game differently and want it to be different and enjoy it. So I think that's me sitting on the fence is probably my answer. I like both sides of it. I have a 23-year-old son. I have an 11-year-old son. You know, and they're good people, and they act differently than I did when I played, and they don't think nothing of it. So I'm kind of torn between the two. I think they know it. It is what it is. And, you know, maybe Babe Ruth and the older guys didn't like the way that we played in the 70s and 80s. You know, where does that stop, you know? So maybe for them, we were the ones destroying the game. Who knows?
Every generation thinks they do it right. So,
yeah. So
I want to ask you, I mean, you had a very good Major League Baseball career, but internationally you were incredible. So what do you credit that to? Was it just like more comfortable because you're playing for Australia?
No. I think just tournament play is a different beast. It's about winning. I think, you know, when I grew up in Australia, Major League Baseball is really unknown. I think, you know, what I achieved playing is pretty significant, and I learned more about the game when I stopped playing. I learned more about just the business and the lifestyle of Major League Baseball when I stopped playing. But I think just the international tournament, just I don't know, just I enjoy playing, and I had some success there. I think I'm really glad I had some success. You know, won a silver medal at the Olympics, which is a really cool experience. But I made the playoffs every year in the minor leagues. First year I got the big leagues, won 92 games. I thought we were going to get there, and just never got there. So, I would have loved dearly to experience the playoffs in the major leagues. Absolutely.
Martine, go ahead.
So on the same topic again of international baseball, I've had some travels to Japan and to Cuba for baseball, and I noticed you had indicated you're part of the 2000 Olympic team. Did you have any? Did you play? The '96-2000 Cuban team is arguably one of the best international teams ever assembled. I don't know if you had a chance to, if you guys played against the likes and faced the pitchers such as Jose Contreras, Pedro Lazo, Miles Rodriguez. That team was just loaded with other stars, Orestes Kindle and Herman Mesa, Pacheco, and so forth. Did you play against them, and how was that?
Well, first of all, yeah, I did play against them, and they played together every year. So unlike other Japan's the same way, and I think that's why Japan and Cuba had a lot of success, because you had this Cuban team full of just superstars, but they played together every year, so they were very confident. And man, did they have some talent! So I got to play against them. I also my in the 2004 Athens, I got to play against Gurriel, first baseman for the Astros. He was just a young guy. I was an old guy, so a bit of a clash there. But yeah, they were superstars. I think until recently, international baseball talent's been really undervalued. I don't think people realize how good the international pieces are. Obviously, MLB is the best league in the world, and it's the toughest league to play in for a whole bunch of different reasons. But the international baseball scene is very good, very strong, and very competitive.
Rollo, you get last question tonight.
There were I believe there's three Australian baseball players on MLB rosters in 2021. What do you feel could help get more Australian baseball players into MLB and playing in the big show?
It's really tough. Baseball, I wouldn't consider to be a top 10 sport in Australia. We probably don't even have 100,000 people play baseball in Australia. So when you look at the numbers that play baseball in Australia and look at the production we have, we're ranked 6th in the world. And I just don't think we have the numbers. We have a country of 25 million, and it's not a frontline sport. So I think that's the main obstacle. Facilities and more people playing the sport. We have incredible athletes. So I think, as I said, when you look at the production of the people that play the game and the success we have around the world, I think it's pretty incredible what we achieve. Considering there's probably more kids playing Little League in some local suburb in America than there is in, all of Australia. So I think we do pretty good, but we just don't have the numbers.
Well, hopefully that'll build up here. I mean, we've had that problem with soccer in America for a long time. It took it to a very long time to start to peak where it is now. So hopefully 5-10 more years down the line, we'll be competitive in the adult leagues, which clearly we're not right now. So hopefully that'll work out for Australia for baseball. But I want to thank Dave Nilsson for coming on with us tonight. I mean, this guy is a Brewers legend. He's on their wall of honor. Just an honor to have you here. Thank you so much, Dave.
My pleasure, guys. I can't believe I wasn't considered for the top 5, though. Come on, my numbers. I got to at least sneak in there somewhere. That's all good, though. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Maybe if we do top 10 next time, we'll get you in. Make sure whatever you're listening on, you hit subscribe or join the group. Have a good night.